This is, what do we call this thing?
This is
Willpower and Robbery.
That's right.
I'm Rob Glanzman.
And I'm Will Miller.
And, let's start with some basics, right? So, we're planning on taking you through this journey of how we basically start from nothing, just an idea that Will approached me with, and, culminated into a full-fledged, fully complete dance album. When we talk about things like that, and we think,
Hey.
Zach, we're recording.
Oh,
Okay, go out.
sorry.
Now, let's talk about the perils of doing recording at home.
Exactly, because things
And this is perfect. Hell, this is going to be an intro, but this is a nice segue.
Right.
How do you make an environment pristine enough to mimic a studio? Right? A professional studio.
A professional studio.
I mean, let's face it, you have the ability to, as a singer, to walk in with your material, band or not, and be able to be isolated. You do your thing, you do how many takes you want, and you pay by the hour.
Absolutely.
Right? And however it comes out, that's what you get.
Right.
The more money you pay, hopefully the more invested they will be.
And hopefully the better it's supposed to be.
I can tell you definitively that things like that just happened, which I swear was not planned, right, is something that's my responsibility, right? As a producer for Will, he shows up, he expects to get going. Basically, what I have is some guidance, in terms of what we're going to do that night, right? And then I got to make this environment as isolated as we can. We used to record in a basement, in my old basement.
Absolutely.
And you got to tell you, until you put a mic up and until you put a singer behind the mic, right? You learn every nuance and every wing flutter and every pin drop that your house makes.
And it's strange you might say that, because as a producer, you hear these things that I, as a singer, don't hear.
Sure.
So, I mean, there were times when we would be in and you'd say, oh, the heating started now. I don't hear any heating, and I'm listening through earphones, which would mimic actually what you would hear on the outside.
We're actually through the same exact earphone preamp as the headphone preamp, and it sounded like a freaking volcano to me.
Meanwhile, to me, I didn't hear a thing.
And that's that's an important distinction between the there's been a lot of information on the web about how to make a pristine recording environment, or as good as you can possibly get it at home. It isn't easy, and we can get into the specifics of that as we go through the blog, but very, very important to take that into account before you get started, because I am of the opinion that you're giving me source material that, frankly, when you make a take, that could be the best take of your life. You could never reproduce it.
You might not be able to reproduce it.
And this is true of musicians, this is true of singers, right?
Right.
So, the takeaway for today is, don't rush getting your environment set up, because you're, as a producer, you're going to be heavily dependent on the quality of the environment that you can produce for your singer, because ultimately you're the one that's going to have to fix it in the mix, so to speak. I hate doing that, as probably most producers hate doing that. There's no reason to create a dirty environment if you have the ability to take some time to sanitize it. Right, a perfect example. Right, we again recorded in the basement. Just adding some Orlex behind you, some sound dampening.
So now
material.
what is that? The Orlex is that?
Orlex is it's like a foam sound dampening material that, very strategically placed, you basically can deaden a lot of the reverberation because it was concrete walls. Will's voice. Will's voice pretty damn good to begin with, right?
He's giving me a lot of credit,
but
and I'll tell you,
you'll hear it. Right? But just those reflections off of where I was recording him, we moved him around a few times. And funny story, right? The first song we did was called Respect.
Respect.
Now, in terms of equipment selection,
Respect is not Aretha Franklin's Respect. By the way, it's Erasures Respect. Okay?
Although that would be funny.
That would make that distinction. We should probably.
I'm sitting here at my console, right, and I hand Will a mic, a crappy SM57 stage mic.
Was that a stage mic or like a drum?
No, it was a stage mic. Give me credit.
This is the
freaking vocal mic, right?
Right, okay.
And I hand it to him, and he's literally standing next to me, and I said, okay, well, let's do a take. And he hits it, and I'm recording. And he gets done, it was pretty good. He's like, oh man, that was awesome. I was like, okay.
In my mind, right.
Right.
It was great.
I agreed, right? He goes, okay, well, we're done with that, right? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? I gotta set up like a voice. He goes, no. He insisted on keeping this take. And that set the stage,
that
I
was
think,
pretty hard, right?
for a lot of harsh realizations.
Battled back and forth about me trying to do that, that takeover. But as a singer, I think you need to know when you've done something that is absolutely brilliant, and when you know if you do it again, it may not be the same. Now, I could have done that take again in the booth that he set up eventually for us. We set up a really great mic booth. And it was insulated, so you could hear every nuance of my voice. But for some reason, and mind you, I was behind you.
You were right behind
in the open,
holding it, no less.
Holding up.
It wasn't even on a stand,
right? But I knew for some reason, I knew that I was never going to be able to sing that song better. I could have done 1,000 takes and probably would have come up to something that was almost as good. But I knew I was never going to be able to get that done any better than I sang that song, and we went with that take.
Yeah.
And I mean, he did a lot of tweaking to make sure that the sound behind it was muted if there was any sound. If my voice came out to be as warm as possible in that type of a mic, because I think that mic just wasn't the mic that we ended up with.
It's $100 mic, and you ultimately, and it wasn't even going through a nice preamp. But the moral story for this week is we're gonna give you some advice on how to set up a comfortable recording environment.
Correct.
And as pristine as you possibly can with the recording space that you have. We learned a lot about that.
And we also learned a lot about actually how to sing in this type of environment.
Correct, to compensate for bad things.
There's things that you might have to do you may have to do a couple other takes.
Yep.
And I think this also leads us into your singing ability when you're trying to do when you're trying to make these type of sounds. Yeah, I think I should.
Get closer.
Because you really, and I don't know if this is a new topic or if it should be the same topic, but you really should have an idea on how you're going to sing the song when you come into a studio, especially if you're paying for a studio.
Yeah.
You cannot get into...
Well, God, yeah.
Oh, you cannot get into a studio and second guess what you're going to do and say, I should do it this way, I should do it that way. You really need to know, because in essence, if you're paying for it by the hour, it's time is money. And so, as much prep as you can do prior to getting into a studio, so that you can actually get into the studio and sing and sing your best take, is what you should do prior to getting into a studio situation where you're singing.
And that's true for both of us, right? I mean, he's got to come prepared. I've got to be prepared for him. So if you're working, one-on-one in a basement or a studio, we had the luxury again of knowing each other, and I knew my environment. But if you're walking off and you're soliciting a producer that you basically don't know, you gotta make a lot of a leap of faith, right? As a matter of fact, that's why I have this picture back here, right? Where this is a constant reminder to me, and we'll end with this. This is what this process is about. This is a painting from Michael Whelan called "The Leap of Faith." It really was just commenting. This is what we're describing in a nutshell, right?
Absolutely.
Every single thing that we've learned, we're going to show you guys over the course of hopefully many videos. But keep that image in mind, right? You're backed into a corner. You got to jump.
Yeah, you got nothing.
And you got to hope that something's going to catch you.
Absolutely.
And this week, pristine recording environments.
Yeah.
We'll tell you how to sanitize them. We'll see you next week.